So apparently the league is looking to curb load management for star players with new strict policy. This was reported by CNN today, and this was approved by the Board of Governors, and it's basically that, and I quote, right, that intend to promote player participation in an NBA full 82 game regular season and prevent teams from restoring more than one star player on any given night. Now, this will make it be known that basically, like, stars have to play. And this is due to, I think, the fact that fans buy concert tickets, not concert tickets, I'm sorry, NBA arena tickets to see these star players. And then you get into situations where they don't even play, where they load manage, or it's the end of the season and that may be the one game that they get to see in the entire NBA year. And all you see is the bench guys, which, even though, yes, it's still NBA basketball, it's not the same level and it's not as entertaining as fans. Adam Silver said this is an acknowledgement that has gotten away from us a bit. That doesn't mean we're turning the clock back, that players are expected to play through injuries or that players never need rest. But there's a statement of a principle in this league that if you're a healthy player, you're going to play. And I agree on this. The biggest star that this happened to last season was Luka and Damian Lillard, who were both two phenomenal superstars, but they didn't play for a lot of the year, or they played in meaningless games for a lot of the year. And when they did play, right, especially with Luka, like, the Mavericks fans showed up for the last game of the season. They wanted to see Luka play. They wanted to see him play in the last game they would decide if they were going to the play-in, and deliberately that game he didn't play. Right here it says the PPP, which is solely focused on star players, does not stop here. However, it also dictates that injuries eligible players are required to suit up for nationally televised games, as well as the entirety of the new in-season tournament, which will begin in early November. Right. So basically, this says that, like, uninjured players have to play the games. So this is going to cause one of two things. It's either team doctors are going to start lying, which is illegal, but they're going to start making up fake injuries or making up injuries which might be half true, and this is already done now, but I think it will probably, be higher due to this fact. And also, I think that a big thing is like soreness will be investigated now, right? Like, a lot of injuries can be faked, right? Like, if you say that you're sore from a certain part of your body, it's normally not going to come down to a decision of where they're going to check you medically for that type of stuff. But I think that now the league is going to be trying to crack down on these rules. And I want to talk about what this means for the league. Forcing players to play has never really been a thing that the NBA has needed to worry about. Back in the day, players used to take pride in playing all of the games, and it used to be so normal for them that players couldn't really see how they went through seasons without playing all the games. It was like their job, and they had to show up to their job. Recently, due to load management, especially fueled by LeBron James, and I'll get to that in a bit, has caused players to just think that they can miss seasons. Now, LeBron rested so that for the playoffs he would be healthy. He played 76 games. He played 70 games. He played enough games to the fact that where he was eligible for all major awards, even with the 2023 new CBA rules. And that's respectable, right? Like, you don't have to play the entire season. You could miss 6 to 8 games, unimportant games after your record has been decided, games to just rest a little bit, Maybe you're tired, or maybe your body is good, and you miss more games closer to the playoffs to make sure that you are correct and that you don't get an injury come playoff time. That's completely normal. But the biggest thing is when players start missing games just to miss them, right? Like, a major injury can take up to 2 years to rehab, right, correctly, and especially depending on the body of the player who got it. So then, if you're a major player who just got injured, you should get your time to actually get back if there's something torn, if there's something pulled. Now, the problem is that now players are using that leverage of them being able to get hurt to flip that against them and say, oh, I'm only going to play 54 games this year, right? Not any real injuries, not anything else. But I'll keep going with the article. Teams must also maintain a balance between the number of one-game absences for a star player in road games and the number of one-game absences for a star player in home games, with a preference of the policy for such absences to occur in home games. So basically, that says that they don't want players to miss games at home and away consistently, and especially away. The reason why is because a player missing a game at home, that's their fans. They get to see them more often, and you could just pick the day when they're playing because you're going to see them a lot throughout the year. But when you're going, let's say to Minnesota, Steph Curry goes there maybe 2 or 3 times a year, right? Maybe only once a year, and you get to see what's happening over there, and those Minnesota fans get to see Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, or even a guy like LeBron or Luka. They get to see it, and it's more special to them, right, to see that type of player because that type of player never comes around. So being able to see them, obviously, if you are a Lakers fans and you live in LA, you're going to be able to see Lakers games all the time if you just pay the price. So you get to see LeBron, more commonly than you get to see a guy, right, like Nikola Jokic or like Joel Embiid. So when Joel Embiid comes to town, when Joel Embiid has to go to Los Angeles, it creates a sense of importance for the league where they're like, yo, we'd rather you not miss that game and miss the game in front of the Philly fans because the Philly fans get to see you a lot and they're going to get to see you if you make the playoffs, right? Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. This is an example. All played in home loss against the Indiana Pacers last season before all being rested for a trip to Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Jazz 2 days later. Against this would constitute grounds for an investigation by the NBA with the new guidelines. Final element of the PPP is retained from the PRP. Healthy players that are sitting out games due to rest are expected to be present at games and visible to fans. This is, I'm going to keep reading and then I'm going to explain my point of view. Silver emphasized the need for a participation across the whole year and stated that the regulations are a changed approach to reinforcing the notion that we're an 82-game league. Teams will be fined $100,000 if they are found to have violated any of these rules. A second violation would bring a $250,000 fine, and the third would be a $1,250,000 fine. Any further violations would result in a team being fined $1 million more than its prior punishment. So basically, if you do this 18 times, you're going to be fined around, $19.25 million, if I'm not mistaken. Aside from injuries and personal reasons, exceptions to the regulations will be based on a player's age, career minutes logged, and injury history. Must be submitted to an NBA week in advance. LeBron James falls into 3 of these categories, which are 35 years old on opening night, 1,000 regular season games played, and 34,000 minutes logged, and therefore is eligible to rest on occasion. CNN has reached out to the National Basketball Players Association, but yeah, and they say in the end of the season starts the 24th. I like this because I like these new rules in the NBA to keep players to. Wait, no. I like the player participation policy rules because I believe that they do something good. They don't say hey, you need to play every game if you're injured or you need to be there. It's just you need to play. If you're a superstar, you need to show up on the court. If you're a fan, then you are going to be able to see your favorite players more often. And teams are going to get fined for this type of stuff, and they're going to get investigated more for these types of situations, right? They want star players to be present for when other team crowds are playing or are watching. And they want players to be able to have this merge of, hey, maybe I see you right as a player and I see you injured and you don't have to play, but that other player that has been resting for a year and now comes back right and plays 42 games when he could easily play 82, he doesn't deserve it, right? Because now this rule is going to stop it. This rule does not prevent injuries. It does not say that it's going to tax injuries. It just says like, hey, guys, don't do this. Don't, fake injuries or try to rest more than you need to. Because if you're healthy, we're going to investigate you and you're going to play. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me what's your opinion, and I'll see you in the next video.